All right, so let's talk cars. That classic American dream, right? Open road, wind in your hair, freedom machine. But what if I told you that dream car is actually a financial nightmare for many Americans? At least that's what the research we're diving into today is saying.
Yeah, it's true. We are facing a real affordability crisis when it comes to cars.
That's
And, it's impacting people in a big way. Saving, investing, building wealth, it all gets so much harder.
So we're going to take a deep dive today, uncover the hidden costs of car ownership, and maybe, just maybe, find some solutions along the way. Buckle up, everyone. Let's start by looking at those price tags. Honestly, they're pretty shocking.
I mean, the average price for a new car in 2023, over $47,000. That's just a lot. It's out of reach for so many people.
Seriously. My parents bought their first house for less than that. No wonder people are feeling squeezed. Okay, so new cars are expensive. But what about used cars? Those have got to be more affordable, right?
Well, not really. I mean, the average used car is going for over $27,000. And even a 9-year-old car, almost $15,000.
A 9-year-old car.
Yeah.
You'd think it'd be practically free by then.
Yeah.
But then you got to factor in those monthly payments, too.
Oh, yeah, the monthly payments. New car loan. Over $700 a month on average. Used car. Still looking at around $550 a month. And most experts say a typical household should only be spending like $400.
So we're talking about payments that are almost double what most people can actually afford.
Oh.
Okay, starting to see why this is a crisis. But how did we even get here? Were car prices always this crazy?
Well, the pandemic didn't help. Supply chain issues, that whole chip shortage thing, materials costing more. It all just kind of snowballed, sent prices way up.
Oh yeah, it was total chaos back then. Used cars selling for more than new ones. It was wild.
Totally. And then on top of that, you had the automakers, right? They shifted their focus to those high profit models, all the fancy SUVs and trucks, fewer affordable options for everyone else. And their profit margins jumped from 4.9% in 2019 to 8.5% in 2023.
So they're making bank while people struggle to afford a basic car. Makes you think, doesn't it? But wait, there's more, right? Interest rates have been all over the place lately, too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Higher interest rates mean more expensive loans. Those car payments get tougher and tougher to handle, especially for anyone who's already struggling financially. We're seeing more loan defaults now, especially among subprime borrowers.
It's like a perfect storm. But, it's not just about the money, right? There's a whole psychological aspect to this, too. Cars are more than just transportation for a lot of people. They're status symbols, a way to show you've made it.
Right, and that's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Because those cars, those symbols of success, they might actually be the thing holding people back.
Really?
Yeah, some financial experts are even calling cars wealth killers now.
Wealth killers. That's intense.
It is, but think about it. All that money going towards car payments, that could be invested instead, growing for the future.
So instead of a shiny new car, they could have a growing nest egg.
Exactly. It's all about opportunity cost. What are you giving up to have that car?
That $550 monthly payment for a used car,
Yeah.
that could be someone's future.
Absolutely could. I mean, imagine you take that $550, invest it in an index fund with a 15% return. Over 5 years, that could grow to almost $50,000.
Wow, that's serious money.
Yeah.
Really puts things in perspective. But, so many people get stuck in those long loan terms, like those 84-month loans we talked about. That's got to be costing them a fortune in interest.
Oh, it is. It is. Those long loans are a big part of the problem. People end up paying thousands of dollars in interest, all while their car is losing value.
Can you give us an example just to show how much those long loans really cost?
Okay, imagine this. You take out a loan for $40,888, 7.1% interest for 84 months. You know how much you end up paying in interest alone?
How much?
Over $11,000.
$11,000? That could be a down payment on a house or, invested for retirement. And then there's the whole negative equity thing, too. Oh, more on the car than it's worth. I've heard some scary stories about that.
Yeah, it's a real problem, more common than you might think. About 25% of people trading in their cars have negative equity. And of those, 22% owe more than $10,000. They just roll that debt into a new loan, and the cycle keeps going.
Sounds like a tough cycle to break free from.
It can be, but the good news is there are solutions. Not everyone is trapped in this car ownership nightmare.
That is good news.
Yeah.
But before we get into those solutions, we need to talk about something really important. This car affordability crisis. It doesn't affect everyone equally, does it?
You're right. It hits low-income households the hardest, and that's something we need to dive into. We'll explore that in more detail after a quick break. Stay with us.
We'll be right back.
Yeah, before the break, we were talking about how this whole car affordability thing is hitting some people harder than others.
Yeah, and it's been pretty eye-opening, to be honest. But I'm ready to talk about solutions now. We've laid out the problem.
Hmm.
But what can people actually do about it?
Well, first, we got to understand this isn't just about personal finances, it's a systemic issue. I mean, for a lot of people, a car isn't a luxury, it's a necessity.
Right, if you can't get to work, you can't make a living, it's a tough spot to be in.
Exactly. And a lot of people don't have other options. About 45% of Americans don't have access to reliable public transportation.
So ditching the car completely isn't realistic for everyone. So where do we even start?
Well, we can start by changing how we think about cars. Do we really need that brand new SUV? Or would a smaller, more fuel-efficient car do the job just as well?
Right, it's about needs versus wants.
Yeah.
All those car commercials don't exactly help.
True. They tell us we need a bigger, better car to be happy. We got to break free from that mindset if we want to make smart choices.
Like, what if driving a modest car was actually cooler? Or even, choosing not to own a car at all.
Exactly. Imagine if public transit, biking, walking, if those were seen as the cool options.
I love that. Redefining car savvy for the 21st century. Okay, big picture stuff aside, what about people who are already struggling with car payments? What can they do right now?
First, take a breath. You have more control than you might think. Really think about your transportation needs. Do you have to own a car? Or could something else work?
Maybe there's good public transit.
Did
Or an e-bike could work for their commute.
Exactly. Our source mentioned this guy in Seattle, Colin O'Keefe. He replaced his car with an e-bike. Went from $600 a month on car payments to just $1,200 for the whole e-bike.
Wow, that's a big difference.
Yeah.
It shows those alternatives are actually possible.
They are, and for those who do need a car, there are still ways to save. Refinancing your loan could get you a lower interest rate, lower monthly payments.
And don't forget to negotiate with the dealership.
Oh yeah, good point. They want to sell you that car so you have some power. Do your research, shop around, don't be afraid to haggle a bit.
Okay, so that's the car itself. But what about the bigger financial picture? How can people break free from that car jet cycle?
Budgeting. Track your spending. It sounds simple, but it makes a huge difference. Once you know where your money's going, you can find areas to cut back.
Plug those financial leaks right here.
Exactly. And once you've freed up some cash, start saving. Even small amounts add up over time. Then you're in a better position when you need to buy a car.
It's about having that safety net, so you're not always playing catch-up. But sometimes it feels like you need a finance degree to figure all this out.
I know. But you don't have to do it alone. There are tons of resources out there. Financial advisors, credit counseling, even online communities. Don't be afraid to ask for help.
It's about building a team of experts to help you make smart choices. Speaking of experts, I'm curious, what about the role of policymakers in all of this? Can they do anything to make cars more affordable, especially for those who are really struggling?
Oh, absolutely. Policy is huge. We need policies that incentivize automakers to make more affordable cars. Think tax breaks, subsidies, things like that. Encourage them to make cars that everyday people can actually afford.
So shift the incentives to help everyday people. What about public transportation? Could more investment there help?
It's essential. We need to make public transit a better option. Make it reliable, efficient, affordable. High-speed rail, more bus routes, better infrastructure.
So people have real choices. Not just a car they can't afford or a bus that's always late.
Exactly. And let's not forget the environmental impact. We need a more sustainable transportation system. Investing in public transit, biking, walkable cities, that all help.
It's a win-win, right?
Yeah.
Saving money and the planet.
Yeah.
But these changes take time.
They do. It takes time, effort, and political will. But we have to keep pushing for it. Write to your representatives, get involved locally, make your voice heard.
Make some noise, demand better solutions.
Right. And remember, individual actions matter too. Every time you choose to bike instead of drive, take the bus, buy a fuel-efficient car, you're making a difference.
It all adds up. But there's still a lot of work to be done.
Definitely. But I'm hopeful. I think the conversation is changing. People are starting to realize this car-centric culture isn't sustainable.
I agree, there's more awareness now. But before we wrap up, I want to touch on something that wasn't in our sources. We've talked about the financial burden, the systemic issues, but what about the impact on our mental health?
Oh, that's interesting. I think that deserves more attention. The stress of car payments, the traffic, the pressure to keep up with everyone else, it all takes a toll.
Right. Think about those long commutes, hours stuck in traffic.
Yeah, it's not good. Studies show long commutes are linked to stress, anxiety, even depression.
So it's not just the money, it's our quality of life too.
Absolutely. We got to start thinking about transportation in a more holistic way. It's not just about getting from A to B, it's about a system that supports our well-being.
This has been such a great conversation. We've covered so much.
We have, from the prices to the systemic issues, the psychology, now mental health.
It really shows the whole picture.
It does. But there are solutions out there, like we talked about. We just got to keep pushing for them.
I agree. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up part 2 of our deep dive. But stick around. In part 3, we'll explore some even more radical solutions. Self-driving cars, car-free cities, all that good stuff. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back to the deep dive. So far, we've really dug into the high cost of car ownership, the impact on our wallets, the environment, even our mental health. It's been a lot, I know, but we're not going to leave you hanging. We're going to talk solutions.
Exactly. It's not all doom and gloom. There's a lot of innovation happening in the transportation world. And today, we're going to explore some of those game-changing ideas.
Okay, hit me with it. What's on the horizon? What's going to revolutionize how we get around?
Well, let's start with self-driving cars.
Ah, yes. The cars that'll drive us around while we take a nap. But are they really the future? It feels like they've been just around the corner forever.
It's true, they've faced some challenges, but the technology is getting better fast. And even if it takes a while for fully autonomous vehicles to be everywhere, the potential benefits are huge.
I can see that. No more traffic jams caused by, human error. Smoother traffic flow, maybe even fewer accidents.
Right, and think about the accessibility. People who can't drive now, like the elderly or people with disabilities. Self-driving cars could be life-changing for them.
Okay, I'm getting it. But some people say it's all just a pipe dream, that self-driving cars will never actually happen.
Well, there are still hurdles, for sure, but the momentum is there. Companies are investing billions, governments are creating regulations.
So it's not a matter of if, but when.
Exactly. When, not if.
Okay, so self-driving cars are one thing. What else is out there? What else could change the game?
Let's talk urban planning. The concept of 15-minute cities.
I've heard that term, but I'm not totally sure what it means.
So basically, it's about designing cities, where everything you need is within a 15-minute walk or bike ride from your home.
Wow, that sounds amazing. No more long commutes, no more traffic.
Right. It's about making cities more livable, walkable, sustainable. And it's not just about convenience. It's about community, about reducing our reliance on cars.
It would probably make people more active, too, which is a good thing.
Absolutely. More walking, more biking, less time in the car. And this isn't just a theory. Some cities are already doing it.
Really? So it's actually happening?
Yep. Paris is a great example. They've made a lot of progress in becoming more pedestrian and bike-friendly.
It's great to see these ideas in action. It might take time for 15-minute cities to be everywhere, but the possibilities are exciting.
They are. It's a vision of cities designed for people, not cars.
Okay, self-driving cars, 15-minute cities. Any other radical solutions we should know about?
How about micromobility?
Micromobility, is that like tiny little cars?
Not quite. Think electric scooters, e-bikes, shared bikes, the little stand-up scooter.
Ah, okay, those things. So it's about smaller, more flexible ways to get around, especially for short distances.
Exactly. Micromobility fills the gap between walking and driving.
I can see how that'd be great in cities, where parking is tough.
Totally. And they're often electric, so more eco-friendly.
So we've got self-driving cars, 15-minute cities, micromobility. It sounds like the future of transportation is going to be a lot different.
It is. We're moving away from the idea that everyone needs a car. We're embracing a more multimodal system where different modes work together.
I like that, having options, choosing what works best for you.
It's about freedom, the freedom that cars promise but haven't really delivered.
This is making me feel more optimistic about the future of transportation.
Me too. Change is happening.
It is, but it's up to all of us to embrace those changes, to demand better solutions, and to make good choices.
Couldn't agree more.
Well, I think that's a good place to wrap up our deep dive. We've explored the costs of car ownership, and we've seen some amazing possibilities for a better future. A future where transportation is more diverse, efficient, and focused on people.
It's been a great conversation.
It has. Thanks for joining us. And until next time, keep those wheels turning.
And remember, the best adventures often start when you step off the beaten path